This program is made possible by a generous donation from Raceway Ford in Riverside. Raceway Ford would like to take this opportunity to thank the community and our customers for their continued support. As the premier Ford dealership in the Riverside and Inland Empire area, we are proud to say that we've served the transportation needs of Southern California residents for over 25 years with an attitude of integrity and a commitment to our customers and our community. Get the car you want at the price you want today. Raceway Ford in Riverside, your community dealership.
I'm your host, Kerry Pendergast, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Nonprofit Showcase. Today's show will introduce you to another nonprofit organization that is providing vital services here in the Inland Empire and the surrounding regions as well. Today's sponsor, Raceway Ford, located here in Riverside, understands the vital role nonprofit organizations play in our community, and they are proud to support programs that spotlight those organizations that have a proud history of service to the communities they serve. In 1973, Dr. Donald and Lois Fuller took in 4 teenage girls and opened their first home for abused children in Orange County, California. Drawing from the olive tree in their front yard and the idea of a family crest, Olivecrest, a name symbolizing peaceful family, was born. Today, more than 40 years later, Olivecrest has grown to become the leader in the prevention of child abuse, serving nearly 3,000 children and families each day throughout California, Nevada, and the Pacific Northwest. Though 4 decades have passed, the Fullers' original commitment to the individual needs of at-risk youth continues to fuel Olivecrest's mission to make a difference, one life at a time. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Tracy Fitzsimmons, who's the Executive Director of Olivecrest Inland Empire and Desert Communities region, to the show. Tracy, I want to welcome you to today's show. It's nice to have you here. Certainly, I think Olivecrest has a great story to tell, and looking back to its original creation, what a story, what a success story. So, in addition to the Inland Empire, what other regions is Olivecrest in?
Well, our region consists of the Inland Empire as well as the Desert Communities, and that's the region that I oversee. And then we also have regions in Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, Las Vegas, and the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, how does that relate to your service in the Inland Empire? About how many clients are you touching on a daily basis?
Probably over about 850 when you include the families that we are, because sometimes we serve the individual children and then other programs serve the entire family. So there's really over 850 individuals and people, children and families that we serve here.
Now, when we're talking about serving these clients, what does that constitute? Are they daily programs where they, come in to a location, or are they actually housed, or are they housed in a location?
Well, we have both. We have residential, and we also have programs that are, for example, our RAP program. Children that are in the system and identified as children and families in crisis, but are not bad enough to be removed from the home. They stay with their biological families, and our team comes in. We call it wraparound, because we literally come in and wrap around the family and their support team to find out how we can make this family healthy again. Because many times, for example, we have a story of a woman who had a drug addiction, and she came out. She had her children removed twice. We came in and fostered her children, found a home for her children for a year. They went back, she relapsed, They went back to the foster home, and then recently our RAP team went into her family when she got her children back after she had went through a year of rehabilitation. And after she got back home, her kids came back, and our RAP team went in and worked with them for 1 year. And they just recently graduated a couple of months ago, and we featured them on a story. That's the kind of services we provide for entire families. So it's not just the child that's being touched, but all the individual brothers and sisters, the siblings, the mom. So sometimes we make touch points at every point along the way.
You know, I think everybody has an idea of what child abuse is all about, but from a standpoint, from your standpoint, as somebody that's in the field, what is the spectrum? What things really fall under the umbrella of child abuse?
Well, there's certainly physical abuse and sexual abuse, but the emotional abuse and the mental abuse that comes from abandonment and neglect is, I would say, as severe as that of the physical and the sexual nature. And it's certainly when kids come to us that have suffered great abandonment or neglect, they're in a tremendous amount of crisis, and they need that stability. And then when we step in, we provide that loving home when they've been removed, and they're able to have a sense of belonging and able to feel like they're, in a home and in a place where they're being loved on and worked with.
Do you think the average person on the street has a good understanding of kind of the spectrum of child abuse? What really makes up child abuse in terms of the definition?
I think that's true. I think that really the physical abuse is pretty much what everybody thinks of. But the acuity levels that we see of children that come in that have suffered from abandonment and neglect are certainly sometimes far greater to manage, to clinically deal with for our mental health clinicians, and to really get them kind of over the hump of where they start beginning to trust adults again.
What would you consider the average age of the clients that you're dealing with?
The average age depends on our program. Our residential program, we're in the group where we have 24 young men in our group homes. Their average age is about 14, but it's anywhere between 12 and 18. And then when they move on, when they emancipate at 18, we have a transitional housing program plus foster care called Project Independence. So they move into Project Independence, and many of them emancipate and go into an independent lifestyle. Many of them emancipate and come into our Project Independence, which is 18 to 21, where they're able to stay in apartments, and we help them with living skills and what do you want to do with your life, what are your strengths, your assets, help them just achieve what parents help their children achieve when they're growing into adulthood. So that would be the 18 to 21-year-olds. And our foster and adoption, I'd say the average age is between 8 and 10 in our foster and adoption program.
Where do your clients go when they leave the program? There are obviously support programs that are there for them. So that simply don't just go through the program and enter some form of what you would consider to be recovery. But there's a mechanism for following them, tracking them, and getting them to where they're independent citizens. Is that correct?
Right, exactly. And it depends on which program they're in again. So, for example, foster and adoption, the ideal goal is to get them reunited and reunified with their family, with their biological family, or some member of their kinship. When that's not possible, we look for, of course, adoptive families. So all of our foster families are automatically certified to adopt. So when they come in knowing that they're going to become a foster family, they're also certified to do that so that they can then take in a child. So there's less placement issues with children. When they're bouncing around, there's more problems and there's less permanency. So that would be our foster and adoption. Our wraparound program, of course, is designed for just that biological family already has that child. So there is a permanency there, which is a lot more stability than taking the child out and going back and forth. In our residential program, they oftentimes, like I said, emancipate into our Project Independence. When they do emancipate, though, we have, even if they go into our Project Independence or they don't, we have what we call an alumni group. And so every month, sometimes twice a month, they come in and they bring their families. I mean, some of these kids, Olivecrest has been around for 42 years, so some of these children have children. So they come back and they meet with our residential director of that program, who's been with Olivecrest for 26 years plus, and he still continues to make touch points into these kids' lives after they have gone on, so that there's a saying at Olivecrest: once you're an Olivecrest family, you're always an Olivecrest family, because that is something that that's a big priority.
Well, with respect to that particular aspect of the program, there's obviously a purpose behind that. From a standpoint of bringing people back together that have really gone through the program and have had some pretty significant needs. Do you kind of look at that as providing the opportunity to obviously first stay in touch with them, but to also make certain that the problems they experienced growing up are not problems that become extended to their families as well?
And that's exactly the point right there, is that it's breaking that cycle of abuse in future generations. So that's really the main key issue: the prevention of child abuse, treating it, educating on it, giving them all the tools of success so they have a permanent, stable place where they not only grow out of their teen years or out of their childhood into adulthood and stop the cycle of abuse. Because we all kind of are familiar with the statistics on what that looks like. I mean, there's 70% of our California inmates are former foster youth at some point in time. That's a significant statistic that should stop us in our shoes and say, okay, what can we do about that? And right here in Riverside County, I think that the latest statistics in 2014 was over 3,500 substantiated cases for CPS that were called in.
So with respect to the funding needed to sustain the organization, I know that Olivecrest believes in public-private partnership. And from an operational and a financial standpoint, this philosophy makes perfect sense to me. But do you also see it as a mechanism for heightening public awareness on the issue of child abuse within our respective communities?
Well, certainly. There's definitely an awareness that we need to do a better job of from the public perspective, but from our organizational perspective too.
So is there a perception, because you receive public funds, that on the private side that you don't need a lot of additional help to support the program? Or have you been able, just using the fact that you've got a fairly significant bridge of time since the organization was founded, that you have significant donors or people that are really attracted to the program and what you're doing, who become continuing benefactors to the program?
Well, we certainly do have that, and we have a mix of business that includes about 85% overall for the entire organization comes from government funding. The other 15% comes from private foundations, from private donors, from capital campaigns, from other things that we do. Basically, in our region, it takes $7.31 per child per day of private support to help supplement what we do. And so if we want to move on our 5-year and our 10-year and our 20-year vision, is to do more and more preventative things, especially as we celebrate, or I shouldn't say celebrate, as we recognize National Child Abuse Prevention Month this month in April. The fact that it takes $7.31 per child per day of private support, just to do what it is that we do now. So as we move into this next 5 years, 10 years, and we want to have a more preventative focus, so not only do we want to stop the cycle of child abuse, but we want to prevent it from ever occurring, we need more and more private support in order to do that. So that's a lot of our focus right now, is on not just supplementing what it is that we need to continue to do what we do, but to expand those programs. For example, privatization, more mental health clinicians that we need in our foster and adoption program, because mental health contracts only cover our wraparound programs. They don't cover our foster and adoption. Well, foster and adoption kids need mental health clinicians as well.
Before we continue, we would like to once again recognize our program sponsor, Raceway Ford in Riverside. Without their generous support, programs like this would not be possible.
Raceway Ford would like to take this opportunity to thank the community and our customers for their continued support. As the premier Ford dealership in the Riverside and Inland Empire area, we are proud to say that we've served the transportation needs of Southern California residents for over 25 years with an attitude of integrity and a commitment to our customers and our community. Get the car you want at the price you want today. Raceway Ford in Riverside, your community dealership.
Welcome back to California CEO Magazine's Inland Empire Nonprofit Showcase. Our guest is Tracy Fitzsimmons, the Executive Director of Olivecrest. It seems for the last decade the trend has really been to put the squeeze on mental health care. So I would imagine that has had some impact on your program. And I think when people on the private side look at a number of $7.31, that's from a donor's perspective, that's not a huge number, but in back of that, how much on the public side in terms of dollar support are you getting to take care of the clients that are in the program? So it's $7.31 plus some other number,
right,
to basically sustain the program.
Exactly. So if you figure that $7.31 basically represents, and the different regions are different.
Sure.
So some regions are 90% funded, some regions are 80% government funded. So overall, as an entire organization, probably about 85%. So that other number represents the 85%
right.
that it takes to run that program per child per day.
Right.
So it's an expensive venture to
now
take care of children.
You actually have group homes as well?
Yes, we do. We have. Yes, we have out at Paris, we call it the Ranch, and there's 4 beautiful homes, 6 bedrooms each, that is a residential 24/7 program. They're all teenage boys at this point, so we have residential managers in each one of the homes, and we take a lot of people out there. We do cook-offs, and a lot of our volunteer hours are done with the kids out there at the ranch, and we've had a lot of support. The land was donated by Dwayne Roberts way back when, about 15 years ago, and 4 different home builders came in, and within a week to 10 days, I'm told, built those houses from the ground up.
Wow, what a great
And
story.
yes, yeah, they did. It was just with the Builders Industry Association. And
Is that type of setting, do you have a lot of success with that, where you have individuals that have come together collectively that are experiencing similar problems?
Correct, yes. And usually these are kids that are been identified by the courts. They're coming in and out of probation for a variety of reasons. And they come in for anywhere between 18 months to 2 years. And one of the success stories we have, I love to tell that story. It's about a girl who was just, when she came to us, she was extremely angry and destructive behaviors, and literally was in a police car being removed from the program when she was cried out to our residential director asking for one more chance. She came out, she went through, she graduated early, she turned her grades around, she went to school, she's now married, she has a child, and she started working for a tax service, and now she owns 4 different franchise tax services.
And I would imagine, because it's a national trend, that the homeless issue is a huge issue for all of us. And so I would think that the stream of referrals coming to you is probably increased over time, it's not decreased.
Correct. And that's, yeah.
Well, when we talk about child abuse, we certainly know that from on a national basis and from a governmental perspective, like I said earlier in the program, certainly funds are being squeezed for that. And if there were one particular thing that you think we could be doing, which would be both public and private, to help bolster the needs of the abused, covering the full spectrum of things you've talked about, what would that be? What is involved? Is it creating more awareness, or what do you just think is really needed to help drive the program? Because there's such a squeeze on the public for money and donations, and there's so many needy organizations. What's your approach to making sure that you're in the line and that people are really recognizing what you're doing and that there are opportunities for donations and support?
I think that you said it best when you said just awareness. And right now, I'd really like to get the business community aware of what it is that we do, because there's so many opportunities. There's more opportunities. Of course, there's always opportunities to donate, and we definitely need the funding because, like you said, the funds are just becoming more and more restrictive and more limited. However, the opportunity to volunteer, I mean, we need mentors and tutors, and we have corporations that do gatherings or fund museum tickets for our kids that are in our group homes when they're out for the summer. There's summer activities that we have that are things like taking the kids to the beach and taking the kids on educational trips and to Los Angeles for, Griffith Observatory and things of that nature that will give them opportunities to see the world in a way that they have not seen the world before. It sharpens their life skills. It sharpens their knowledge of the external world and the little internal world that they've lived in has been sometimes so sheltered and so.
So it's an opportunity for them to see the world as it is, as opposed to the world that they're living in, which can be
right, and it's
different.
Exactly, and it's more of getting the community aware of what we do so that they can be advocates for children that don't have a voice, that they can reach out no matter what level that is. I'd love to see everybody open up their home that has a love for children, but not everybody can do that. And so they can, through their corporation or as an individual, they can volunteer, they can come in. We have simple things like a dental office that just recently did a diaper drive. That's huge, that's huge for our families. We have a furniture company that donated just thousands and thousands of dollars of brand new furniture and cribs and changing tables and dressers for our families.
So Tracy, we spent a little bit of time talking about the foster care program, and it sounds to me like it's inexorably linked to issues that you were discussing relative to the prison population and the cost to the taxpayers, the public at large, and to the individuals that have not had the opportunity to go through the program.
So when we're looking at the statistics of 70% of California inmates were once former foster youth, or even along those same lines that 36% of foster youth, once they emancipate, become homeless within 2 to 4 years as well. You're talking about a large cost to society. So when you compare that with the benefits of being in our program in Olivecrest with the $7.31 per day of private support, plus the additional, whatever the total cost of that is, with what we receive from public funding, is minuscule compared to the cost of actually having a child become incarcerated or having a person become homeless. It's a huge benefit to our society.
So when we were talking about the issue of the public funding and the fact that those dollars there's a lot of competition for those dollars, the ability to get more people in the private sector to support the program and to really fully understand what their donations, their contributions, whether it be financial or service in kind or some other form of support, those things are really critical to helping curb the back-end problem which occurs if there's not continuing support for those people through the program.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that, again, our viewing audience, if they go to the website, they're going to be able to pick up on some of the events and some of the needs that the organization has. Mm-hmm. So with that, obviously it looks like our time is running short. We want to thank you for spending some time with us today. And
thank you.
And hopefully what it will do is create more awareness for the organization and all of the great work that you're doing. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate it.
Same
Thanks
here.
so much.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface on the issue of child abuse, as well as the success Olivecrest has had in being an advocate for the abused. But I see that our time is up for today's show. If you would like to obtain more information on Olivecrest, I encourage you to visit their website at www.olivecrest.org or to give them a call at 951-686-8500. Your generous support will enable them to continue their great work and to be true to their mission of making a difference one life at a time. California CEO Magazine and today's community sponsor, Raceway Forward in Riverside, encourage you to support Olivecrest or any other of the nonprofits featured in our programs. Your generous contributions will go directly to the programs that serve our community. If you would like to join us here in the studio to tell your story or to talk about what your organization is doing for your community, visit us at californiaceo.net and complete the form on the Contact Us page, or simply give us a call at 951-697-3098 and let us help you get your story out. I'm Carrie Pendergast, and thanks again for being a part of California CEO Magazine.
This program is made possible by a generous donation from Raceway Ford in Riverside. Raceway Ford would like to take this opportunity to thank the community and our customers for their continued support. As the premier Ford dealership in the Riverside and Inland Empire area, we are proud to say that we've served the transportation needs of Southern California residents for over 25 years with an attitude of integrity and a commitment to our customers and our community. Get the car you want at the price you want today. Raceway Ford in Riverside, your community dealership.